What's up, people? Hello and welcome back to the channel. This week we focus on a manager under fire, but he's no stranger to the pressure. Normally calm and collected on the sideline, he's enjoyed recent success up in the north of England. That's right, it's Eddie Howe of Newcastle in the spotlight of the week. December of 1995 saw a young Howe make his professional debut for AFC Bournemouth against Hull City, the beginning of a long and storied relationship. Strong performances in the center back position led to a selection for the under-21 England squad for a youth tournament where he would catch the eye. Harry Redknapp, manager of Portsmouth at the time, brought Howe into the club as his very first signing since taking charge. But the first game of the campaign was marred by a season-ending injury, dashing all the positivity that comes with a fresh slate of a new campaign. After his lengthy rehabilitation, Howe was ready for the opener against Forest in 2002-2003. Just 9 minutes in, and the unthinkable happened again. Season done. 2 years running. It would take another 18 months before he would see the pitch again and would be loaned to Swindon Town on deadline day. But he would never actually feature for them. The beginning of the 04-05 season saw Howe out on loan once again. This time, though, it was back to familiar territory at Bournemouth. With a good spell of health, the center back was able to put together a run of decent form. The club and the fans wanted to buy Eddie outright, but the finances were in shambles. In a wonderful exhibition of why we love this game so much, the supporters of Bournemouth came up with Eddie Share and raised £21,000, the exact amount the transfer fee needed, and Howe was home. He would go on to amass 270 appearances for the Cherries before his injuries finally caught up to him and he settled into the next chapter, coaching. The twilight of his playing career was the dawn of his managerial one. Hired as a player coach by then-manager Kevin Bond, he would coach the reserves while seeing out the season in the first team in 2006. Bond was sacked at the end of the season, but Howe would return as youth coach under new manager Jimmy Quinn, who would also be sacked before too long. New Year's Eve 2008, Eddie Howe took over as caretaker, and despite losing the first 2 matches away from home, he would become the permanent manager in mid-January 2009. With a huge hill to climb, namely being 17 points adrift in the drop zone, his first feat would be to stave off relegation, and it was a remarkable triumph to start off quite the run with the Cherries. The next season was one of broken records, transfer bans, and the thrill of promotion from the 4th tier of English football, where the club had been for the past 2 seasons. January of 2011 would see a number of offers to manage other clubs come in, and Howe would reject them all. In fact, he stated that he would be staying at Bournemouth. That is, of course, until Burnley came a-knocking, and just 2 days after making his statement, he signed a contract with the Clarets. The next and last match of his first stint happened to be his 100th for AFC Bournemouth, but it would of course not be his last. His time at Burnley was tough, a learning experience if ever there was one, finishing 8th his first season and 13th the next. Personal tragedy would see him leave Burnley before his 3-year deal was done, and it's interesting to note that Howe himself has commented that his time at Burnley was crucial to his rise as a manager. Without that 18-month spell there, according to the man himself, he would not be where he is today, nor would he be the manager that he is today. He would return home once again to Bournemouth in October 2012, leading them to yet another promotion, this time into the Championship, only 1 point off the top. The next season was exciting as well, with Bournemouth finishing just 6 points out of the playoff positions for promotion to the top flight. On April 19, 2015, the Football League Awards selected Howe as the manager of the decade, and just a week later, Bournemouth would gain promotion to the Premier League. Very fitting after having just been honored. Achieving survival in his first season at the top flight, finishing 16th, would then lead to a period of mid-table success, with 9th 12th, and then 14th place finishes. But the 5-year run would come to a crashing end in the 1920 season, seeing them down in 18th place. This would spell the end of Howe with the Cherries, but his name would be forever cemented in the history of AFC Bournemouth. And of course, when I look back on that period of the Premier League, that's definitely who I think of patrolling the sidelines for the Bournemouth Cherries. November of 2021 rolled around and Eddie Howe was appointed manager of Newcastle United, replacing Steve Bruce. He brought in some old friends from Bournemouth, both coaches and players, including Callum Wilson, Matt Ritchie, and Ryan Fraser, but would have to sit out his very first game due to COVID. It was a thriller, too, against Brentford 3-3 that he had to take in from the hotel room. The 21-22 season was a nerve-wracking one featuring 2 different double-digit streaks. Winless in the opening 14 set a record for staying up after such poor form to begin a season, and they would win 12 of their last 18 matches to do so. The 2022-23 campaign was incredible for Newcastle United, Eddie Howe flexing his managerial muscles and guiding the Magpies to the Champions League for the first time in 20 years. Not to mention the Carabao Cup final versus Old Manchester United. The physical, energetic, power football overwhelmed teams last season and gave as good as they got at the very top. St. James's Park has of course become a nightmare of a cauldron for away sides. Eddie Howe has brought the Toon Army back where they belong and endeared himself beyond all doubt to the faithful in black and white. With a new contract inked at the beginning of the season, the road thus far has been tough. It was a disappointing exit from the Champions League group of death after they had thrashed Paris at home and were desperately unlucky away to the French Giants. Injuries have decimated them since, and a dismal run has left them languishing mid-table. Their physical style of hacking and slashing at opposition players certainly leaves a sour taste in the mouth and makes me wonder if Howe shouldn't perhaps clamp down on this, but it certainly makes them tough to play against. However, their fast-paced counters and the likes of Guimaraes seeing the passes before the ball even gets to him still carries quite the threat, so don't count them out just yet. Well, that's it for another Spotlight of the Week, people. Thanks for being here. Let's smash that like button and, of course, subscribe if you're new. We are on our way to 200 subscribers. If you're enjoying the Spotlight series, click the little bell as well. And as always, thanks for listening, and you will see me next time.